Back when I was in college almost 8 to 10 years ago, everybody wanted a sporty looking motorcycle or a naked street fighter. It had to be the shiniest looking, sharpest looking motorcycle out there. And now, ironically, even though we are in more modern times and currently the trend is adventure motorcycles, the new genre of motorcycles that has been getting a lot of attention are retro roadsters.
And to help you choose a nice retro roadster for yourself, we have the quite likable Hero Mavrick 440, the Triumph Speed 400, which blew us apart in a lot of ways last year, and the newest kid on the block, the Royal Enfield Guerrilla 450. The first contender is the Mavrick. Neo-retro, minimalistic, elegant, but nothing new. Any on the paint schemes, they are a bit drab. The second thing, the speed. The fit and finish levels, the paint quality, the overall look. This looks like a proper international product. But surprisingly, my pick would actually be the Guerrilla. It's funky, it's out there. The overall neo-retro, scramblerish design is something I love. And the color schemes? Yeah, this yellow one is okay, but the white and the blue one looks fantastic. It grabs attention like no other bike out there, and I love it.
Okay, so the younger crowd really seems to appreciate the design language of the Guerrilla 450. That's because Royal Enfield have tried something new this time. It gets these really loud color schemes. In this yellow shade, it does look a bit like the Ducati Scrambler, and at the rear, it gets the widest tire in its segment, which does make it really stand apart on the streets and catch a lot of attention. But the older crowd, from what I've seen online, they do not really seem to appreciate these louder color schemes, especially on a Royal Enfield. Then when you come to the Hero Mavrick out here, it has a decent and nice looking neo-retro design language, which I think more mature people would appreciate, although the color schemes are very simple and you have all this exposed wiring here which doesn't really make it look that great. And when you stack it up against these two motorcycles, it doesn't look the best. Finally, we come to the Triumph Speed 400. I think this has exceptional build quality, it looks really premium, and it's a really compact and proportionate motorcycle. Personally, I love the design of the Triumph Speed 400.
The Mavrick is talky, easygoing, linear, and a bit too linear. I mean, if I'm buying a 450cc bike, I want performance, I want excitement, and that is exactly why I wouldn't pick the Speed. I mean, don't get me wrong, this has performance, but again, it's a bit too linear. It's not exactly exciting, but this, the Guerrilla, the sheer torque, the sheer punch this thing has from 3000 RPM is addictive. Sure, it has vibes, a bit less than the Himalayan, more than the Speed, but this thing is fun and it is the quickest bike of the lot. So in terms of sheer performance, I want this Sherpa.
Now, anyone who's looking for their first motorcycle, performance numbers obviously really matter to them. And that's where the Guerrilla won in our test. Now, in the 0 to 100 km/h sprint, this is the quickest motorcycle. It did it in around 6.5 seconds, whereas the Speed, on the other hand, took 7.5 seconds. So this is 1 second quicker than this motorcycle. And on the other hand, you have the Mavrick, which is more lazy, linear, and easygoing. It is a tractable motor, very usable in the city. But when you talk about outright speed, this takes around 9.91 seconds to do the 0 to 100 km/h sprint. Now, in the city, what I did experience is that the Speed is a more easygoing motorcycle and the more refined one out of these two motorcycles, especially to ride. And what makes it really easier to ride is that it has a lighter clutch action compared to the heavy clutch action of the Guerrilla. And also, you can be in a gear higher, a gear lower, and it's still easily able to chug along compared to this. That's why I would pick personally this motor, because of how fun, refined and quick it is.
The Hero Mavrick 440's sweet nature extends here too. The torquey engine and capable chassis will make your weekend rides fun, but that's about it. The Guerrilla though, that has a lot more. You will enjoy riding it up and down your favorite set of ghats a lot more than the Mavrick 440. Two caveats: the engine doesn't have a lot of torque under 3000 RPM, so you will have to work that gearbox a fair bit. Second, you will feel the heft. It is a heavy motorcycle, no getting around it. So if you muscle it around, if you're able to do that, it is more fun than the Mavrick. That's what I promise you. But this this is a retro bike that you would want to take to the racetrack. It is nimble, it's compact, the engine has torque, the engine has character. You will have a lot of fun. If you like the Neo more than the Retro in your Neo Retro Roadster, this is the one to get.
All three of these motorcycles have really good chassis setup, and that means they all handle really well. But when you ride all of them back to back, you do obviously notice all of the changes, and that's what I'm going to take you through. So starting off with the Mavrick. Now this right here, it's a good handler. Although when you ride it back to back with these two, you realize that the foot pegs are more forward set and the tires are not the grippiest. So when you're pushing through twisty roads, it's not the most confidence inspiring. Second up, we have the Royal Enfield Guerrilla 450. Now this is also a really good handler. It tips into corners nicely. The only thing is, when you're trying to flick it from one side to another, it does take some effort and you have to muscle it around. This could be considering the fact that this does have the widest tires over here. I feel like maybe if you were to swap them out for a 110 and 150 section tire, it would reduce that effort a slight bit more. And finally, when you come to the Triumph Speed 400, this is one of the best handlers, especially when it's compared to these two motorcycles. It is really nimble, it is compact, you can flick it from one side to another effortlessly, and it's a lot of fun when you're powering through corners. Additionally, the tires on the Speed 400 also provide really good grip in the dry and in the wet as well.
The Mavrick 440 absolutely dominates the segment in terms of comfort. So let's address the Guerrilla first, which is firm as a rock. The rear is quite bouncy, and surprisingly even the front is quite bouncy, so much so that if you go over a patch of bad roads at speeds, it might even threaten to knock your hands off. The Speed, it's a close second, nice and soft, comfortable, but at highway speeds it does balloon up a bit, it does feel a bit bouncy. The Mavrick though, it shows why Hero is the king of making suspensions. Highway speeds, city speeds, with or without a pillion, it is composed, it is comfortable, it is brilliant. It shows that basic suspension, like a telescopic fork, twin shock absorbers, even they can do wonders if tuned nicely. So in terms of daily rideability and comfort, I love this.
Now in the comfort and practicality segment, I have to agree with Nishaad and go with the Mavrick, because this offers the most plush ride quality, especially over a bad and unpredictable roads. Now if you talk about the Guerrilla, it's a nice motorcycle to sit on. It puts you slightly lower to the ground. But what I do not understand is why they've gone with only a 11-litre fuel tank. That does somehow step into the way of the practicality. It would have been nice to get a 13 to 14-litre fuel tank. On the Speed, it's a really nice motorcycle. This, compared to the Guerrilla, it is less stiff than the Guerrilla, but it is a very lightweight and compact motorcycle. That means that it's going to appeal to shorter and smaller riders, but larger riders might find themselves better off on one of these two. So that clearly tells us the story that even though this does have simple basic suspension on paper, it does the best job because of the tuning of it, and it provides a really good ride experience in the city. Additionally, this does have slightly forward set foot pegs compared to these two, and that means it's the easier motorcycle to stand up on and get through tough terrain.
The Mavrick 440's console ranks the last here. Be it the small fonts or the usage of the space, it just doesn't feel premium, and it isn't the easiest to read on the go. The Speed's Neo Retro console is fine, but giving it a digital tachometer and analog speedometer wasn't the best idea, and reading it on the go is again not the easiest. The Guerrilla 450 then has to be our winner. Yeah, you have to keep your phone on if you want navigation, and that drains up your phone real quick, and that is annoying. But apart from that, this console feels premium yet simple and easy to read, and it is definitely my pick of the lot.
Out of all three bikes, the Guerrilla 450 has the most advanced console, making it an even more attractive proposition for prospective customers. It is the same color TFT unit that we have seen on the Himalayan 450, which also gets turn-by-turn navigation. The Mavrick, on the other hand, has a fully digital console as well as Bluetooth connectivity for turn-by-turn navigation, call and SMS alerts, and more. This console is simple, but it does display adequate information. Finally, the Speed 400 gets an analog speedometer with a digital display for other important information. The digital tachometer is not the easiest to read, which is why I would have liked to see a twin-pod analog console. But what it has going for it compared to both the Guerrilla and the Mavrick is that it gets switchable traction control.
So there you have it. That is our comparison of the Hero Mavrick 440, the Triumph Speed 400 and the Royal Enfield Guerrilla 450. Now, Nishaad and me obviously have different opinions because we are different types of riders and each of these motorcycles has something different. So let's quickly get into it. Nishaad, which one of these motorcycles would you pick to do everything?
Oh, it has to be the Guerrilla for sure. The mid-range punch that engine has, I love it. I would pick it over the other two. I'm okay with the vibes. I'm ready to put up with the small fuel tank. The issue, it's the tires. I mean, they're okay in the dry, they're terrible in the wet, and them being fatter than the competition means it will be hard to get good tires in those sizes. If I was a prospective Guerrilla 450 owner, I would swap them out for 110 and 150 section tires immediately. You know what the Guerrilla feels like? You know, every time we went out for dinner or lunch with our family, as kids and our moms, they would see the food and they would say, "Oh, ye to main ghar pe bana sakti hu." And then what my mom made at home, with all due respect, was neither healthy nor junk. So neither was it nutritional nor was it extremely tasty, and that's what the Guerrilla feels like. The sportiness, the sheer fun factor that the engine provides, the tires, they are just not able to match up. So yeah, if I was an owner, I would swap out the tires immediately. What about you? Which one would you pick?
Well, it's pretty obvious. You know what I own. I own a Triumph Scrambler 400X. So I would obviously go with the Speed 400 because first things first, design is a very important thing to me. And I just love how the Triumphs have been designed. This one looks exactly like the larger Speed Twin. And that's a gorgeous motorcycle to stare at. So firstly, it has that. Secondly, I'm okay with the fact that the Guerrilla is a 1 second faster motorcycle than the Triumph. I'm ready to compromise on that speed, and that's especially because there's not one of these motorcycles handles as good as the Triumph. It is a very sporty handling motorcycle, nimble, flicks from one side to another really quickly, and you can just have a lot of fun while riding it. In fact, today when I was in the Ghat sections and I was riding through them hard, I did really feel that I would love to take the Triumph Speed 400 to a racetrack just to see what it's like. That is just why the Triumph is my pick.
As for the Mavrick, it's not a bad motorcycle. It's actually a very likable motorcycle in a lot of departments. It's just that it doesn't exactly nail that one particular department, which is why I feel newer riders will appreciate a lot more than hardcore experience enthusiasts.
Yeah, I agree with that. And the main thing that the Mavrick has going for it is a 440cc motorcycle in India that you can buy for under rupees 2 lakh. That makes it real good value for money. And in the comfort and practicality department, not everyone wants a sporty or a unique motorcycle. Sometimes people just want those factors, comfort and practicality, and it outshines these two in that segment.
So yeah, if you think Azaman is right, I think the Speed 400 is the one to get. If you think like me, you can get the Guerrilla 450. But if comfort and practicality are of utmost importance to you, you can get the Mavrick 440. Thank you so much for watching. Subscribe to ZigWheels.
And let us know which one of these is your favorite in the comment section below.